This is Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan, and it is the platform for book lovers and writers. I am Michael Olatunbosun. Today, let's talk about a fundamental issue in our nationhood, especially as we celebrate Nigeria's 59th independence anniversary. Therefore, the book on the table today is on leadership. The book is titled Tactics of Toxic Leadership, a study in existential tyrannies, written by Angel Folorunsho and published in 2019 by Tourism Train International Limited, Ibadan. The author, Angel Folorunsho, is a trained journalist and rhetorician. He has vast experience in political and strategic communication. He has written 6 books, published in the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Some of his works include Terrorist Universe, Dynamics of Political Communication, The Party Machine, and Sambisa, a classic of intercontinental poems. His latest work is Toxic Leadership. The book, Tactics of Toxic Leadership, a study in existential tyrannies, in its preface argues that it is contradicting to conceive of a one-person leadership. This is premised on the perception that a leader emerges from the activities of the followers, in the sense that the leader taps from the resources of the followers to cast a vision. The leader, according to the author, is a problem solver, influencer, mobilizer, ego reinforcer, and agenda setter. The essence of the leader is to appropriate every available resources to mitigate and upgrade the standard of living of the followers. An incapable leader courts trouble for himself and followers when he piles pressure on the followers owing to his own incapacitation. The conditions of the followers will then begin to get worse, and the leader acquires unhealthy, bloated ego. This is when leadership becomes toxic. For the author, the toxic leader undermines the rule of law, creates an atmosphere of fear, and devalues the condition of the followers in order to perpetuate himself in power for selfish interests. The author adopts the definition provided by Roche and Berling, 1984, which sees leadership as, quote, the process of influencing an organized group towards accomplishing goals, end of quote. In this work, the author believes that leadership is both an art and science, and that it includes activities and influences based on reason and logics, as well as those based on inspiration and passion. Good leadership is more than calculations and planning, or following a checklist. It involves touching others' feelings and emotions. You're listening to Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan, and the book on the table is Tactics of Toxic Leadership, a study in existential tyrannies, written by Angel Folorunsho. The writer, in exposing the concept of leadership, creates a link between leadership and management. He argues that leadership is about doing the right things, and management is about doing things right. In his reckoning, both are needed in any setup, as there is a point where they both are complementary and shedding into each other. The nexus between leadership and followership is also laid out here. It is stated that leadership is restricted to influence exerted by someone in a particular position or role, but that followers are part of the process too. Thus, in this case, they both are ideal and needed. The work discusses transactional leadership. It situates leadership behavior within the interplay of the dynamics offered by the followers and followership types, as well as prevailing situations within which the interaction takes place. The work also examines the question of women in leadership, including the stereotypes, biases, and perceptions. In the work, Tactics of Toxic Leadership, Angel Folorunsho discusses at length the skills that make a successful leader. In a nutshell, the author avers that leadership is developed through education and experience. He insists that leadership development depends not just on the kinds of experiences one has, but also on how one uses them to foster growth. He argues that a key quality of leadership is an extraordinary tenacity in extracting something worthwhile from their experience and in seeking experience rich in opportunities for growth. He goes ahead to list some qualities of leadership to include cognitive ability, strategic thinking, analytical ability, and ability to make sound decisions in an environment of ambiguity and uncertainty. He also thinks that the leader must be able to manage an environment of diversity, delegate effectively, attract, develop and retain talented people, and learn from experience. According to the author, a test of leadership is indeed a question of whether a leader is a willing learner who is ready either to confront his or her own views and an invitation to others to do so, or not willing to confront or question the validity of their goals and values. This is about learning how to learn. In this 16-chapter book, the author devotes some time to discussing toxic leadership. He sets out by defining a toxic leader as, quote, a bad leader whose intent is to create an untenable situation for his or her followers to satisfy his or her selfish end, end of quote. For him, a toxic leader tends to, quote, subvert the leader-follower situation ecology, end of quote. He leaves followers in a worse-off condition with self-destructive and collective harm done to both followers and organizational structures. Indeed, a toxic leader is a petty tyrant, a toxic boss who has oppositional behavior, poor self-control with discriminatory attitude. The toxic leader divides, is shallow, arrogant, and irritable. From this work, we read that a toxic leader is authoritarian and manages by fear to keep a grip of their authority in the organizational group. Then comes the discussion of narcissistic leaders. The author, quoting Stephanie Marsh's narcissistic personality disorder description, states that narcissistic leaders have the following traits: a grandiose sense of self-importance, a preoccupation with unlimited fantasies of success, power, and brilliance, excessive admiration, and a sense of entitlement, among other things. In the book, Tactics of Toxic Leadership, the author devotes time and attention to discussing political conspiracies and theories, information warfare, with a whole chapter dedicated to the biographies of some tyrants like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Idi Amin Dada, and so on. On the whole, this 252-page book is a well-thought-out, well-researched and well-written book with loads of lessons for the reader willing to explore the theory of leadership. The program is Book Splash on Splash FM 105.5, and it's time to meet my guest, the author of the book Tactics of Toxic Leadership, a study in existential tyrannies, Mr. Michael Angel Folorunsho. In this conversation, he talks to me about his perception of leadership in Nigeria, the problem of followership, and why he chose the medium of writing. Your book is on toxic leadership.
That's right.
You adopted the definition provided by Roche and Berling. The definition says leadership is the process of influencing an organized group towards accomplishing goals.
Right.
You don't see this happening in Africa and Nigeria, really?
If we begin with Nigeria, you will likely want to agree with me that do you even set goal here? You want to know, which may come under what they call national planning, something, and so on and so forth, vision, this, vision, that. But you don't see things like that happening here. Even at the micro level, you want to set goal to be achieved, and then you mobilize all the required resources. But in a nation like Nigeria, where you have the resources in terms of all other material resources, but the human material that will now bring about correct character-based, character-focused leadership, our courage propelling leadership is not there. So you now say that you have resources not to be harnessed for the betterment of the masses, then what are you leading? People keep complaining in this knowledge-based economy, which is now a stark reality to the masses. Then, of course, the innovative aspect of leading, that is innovative leadership, driving the essence of change rooted in technological advancement, and then the knack for wanting new things to experiment and then encourage those that want to do those things. All those things, you can't find them there. The moment you see somebody doing something that is innovative, they look for means of just killing the thing. The white people, they killed so many things in Africa. Now the black people themselves, they are killing their initiative of others. So you now discover that it's as if there's what they call a kind of agnotology, that is culture-based ignorance. If they had understood what they are doing, they wouldn't be behaving that way. So when you look at Nigeria, I don't know who I would like to give any leadership as expected. Gold chaser, gold baker, and gold, distributor, and then mobilizer to achieve. I don't see. You will see after their stint in power, you discover that the real way to lead, especially in this age of discontinuity or disruptive age, or the velocipedic age of knowledge and speed, I don't see any of them yet.
So you are claiming there's no leader in Nigeria?
No, you have leader, but what we are talking about, leaders that will achieve, leader that will not be backpassing, leader that will seek good things from anybody regardless of the ethnic background or race. Leader that will not be nepotic, leader that will want to solve human problems from whoever could prefer solutions should come. Forget about where you are coming from. Don't talk about your geopolitical. Since we are talking about the collective action, collective memory, driving us together to still be one nation, then leader that will be propelling justice, that's the type of thing. At their center, I don't see it. I don't see it. It's not that one is just trying to be too critical. I don't see it. I don't know their agenda. I don't know what they are pursuing. You understand? In this age, the first 50 years now will be spent, you won't see anything in this country. All you'll be seeing growth, but development, I doubt it will be there.
And then you use the expression toxic leadership.
Yes.
That's probably one of your languages to describe what you have in Nigeria.
Yeah,
right?
That means bad leaders. That's for short, bad leaders. Which means they will leave their followers worse than they met them. They are corrupt. They believe in poor performing staff. They will put poor performing elements in power rather than people that are capacitated. They pass buck, they criticize unnecessarily, and they terrorize. Then they operate what they call violating policies. Policies that will destroy the members of the society.
When you talk about the members of society, you also used in your expression earlier, you used the word followers.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather put the blame on followers that are docile, that are not alert, that are also incapable?
Well, thank you very much. When you look at the concept of leadership, it encompasses what I said, the triangulated leader-follower situation. Then we have types of followership. We talk about alienated followership. Mm-hmm. We talk about pragmatic. We talk about exemplary. We talk about passive. So, alienated one, well, they will just be watching, and that since they are not involved, maybe through terror, and then they could not do much, then they will be watching. So the exemplary that will want to behave well and do well, and they are now saying, this is not your time. The leader will be saying, this is not your time. So it's not that every time, speaking episodically, that you'll be having docile followers. There will always be activistic ones, those that are having information, those who want to behave, those who want to do well. But the toxicity of the leadership, who will be having what we call leadership deficit, not understanding through the process of environmental scanning, scanned inputs to be using process in a system, lacking in cognitive means as a critical skill of correct leader. Then the followers, those of them that want to bear the card, want to struggle against the thing, you see element of maybe protest here and there.
In your work, you said leaders are taught to do the right things.
Yeah.
But managers do things right.
Yeah.
I remember that if we go back in history, there's a leader in this country who said that it is not money that is our problem. It is how to spend the money. Can we relate it to the problem of management rather than the problem of leadership?
The concept that a leader does the right thing. A manager merely does things right. A manager routinizes his or activity. A leader will be within the ambience of being able to effect changes. For example, if you look at an organization like this, your organization now, to change policy here, the strategic level of this here will be involved. Workers here can't just say they want to change policy. You understand? So you workers will be doing things the way it has been stipulated. To change policy, maybe the board of directors or board of governors will have to come together. That's the apex. And then, of course, the proprietor may even issue a statement, and then the thing will walk down, and then everybody. So that is what we are trying to look at in that wise. But what matters is the complementary role of leadership and then management. One cannot be say one is better than the other. He is saying vision, is envisioning, and then he is the right of that leader to communicate the vision and share the vision among those that we welcome the vision, not vision killers and not republic emptiers, as we are having in this part of the world.
You say republic emptiers.
Yes.
I go back to your triangle, the triangle of leader-follower situation.
Right.
It looks like we are just focusing on the leader only. I am returning to this matter because I feel very strongly that we have had a followership that has been repressed for quite some time because you probably have some other factors playing to make the followers repressed in this country. Yeah. But can we make the situations that we have on ground now, can we turn it around to produce followers who will be alert to their responsibilities and hold government or these people who are in leadership accountable and responsible for the common good?
That's right. Possible in the sense that in psychology of leadership, a leader is one of us. He used to be a follower. Now he's been moved up to go and perch on the cone of that triangle. And then a leader is above us in time of crisis. He or she has nowhere to run to except looking up to God.
Okay.
So which means he will have been prepared before getting there. Then a leader is definitely not below us. So the point is that repression or repressing followers will not last a long time. If you look at that pyramid, by the time you upturn the pyramid, it becomes the so-called inverted whatever. The flatter part of the thing tells you that the moment it rests, that's the people. On the non-performing leader, two things will happen. One is either the leader will crash land or soft land. And then beside that pyramid will always be what they call laddership. We have leadership, we have laddership. The laddership you climb, you start climbing rung by rung until you get to the peak. Once you get to the peak, the followers down here are there at the base to shake the ladder. When they shake the ladder, if it is for good, you just come down soft land. If it is for evil, you crash land. Examples are bound in history. You look at Louis XIV of France during the French Revolution of 1789. You look at Muammar Gaddafi, in spite of it all, 2011 in Libya. You look at Murtala Mohammed here in Nigeria during this something. You look at Abacha. Then you go to other areas in this leadership thing. So what we already there is that if you are a bad leader and you think that the followers, maybe you are repressing them, it's just for some time. You cannot repress everybody all the time in the political community. And then after some time, you will just see a kind of the alienated one who just come up with certain idea. Then the thing may be violent. And then if it turns violent, we've seen it. That's why you see some turns to revolutionary leader, because the situation will create historical condition that would need to be corrected or to be amended to make sure that life has meaning for the masses. It's not just existing. It should be about living with standard.
Okay, away from your book for a moment. I have read a couple of your books. I know the trend in your writing, but why did you choose to go this way in your writing career? You know, write critical works, try to expose leadership, look at Sambisa, the insurgency, and the rest of it.
A writer mimics the society, reflects upon the society. So whether you are doing fiction or fictional or non-fictional work, you just have to reflect on what is going on. The whole essence of this is that I have looked through these people. They are virtually almost the same way of going their thing. I am not claimed saintliness, but if you try to say you want to do certain thing and it's not allowed, it's better to document it so that we will be exonerated historically when we are no longer here. You understand? But to keep quiet, not doing anything, it's not good at all. Those who brought revolution, that's 1789 revolution, France, from where they derived this issue of a citizen's right and whatever, with all its benefits, in spite of all its shortcomings. They read the works of people like Voltaire, Thomas Hobbes, and so on and so forth, Jim Borden. So they read their work, and then haven't read the works. Those people did not write anything. It would have been difficult for them to carry out their thing. They saw the idea. Those people could not implement the idea. But it came down, documented, and the process. And then those that will implement, they will come one time. And then they will be able to, will have been, looked up to as people who did not even just sat down that time. And then we did not sit down and then I'll be watching. So that's why I look at all these type of things. The nation is not running the way it should run, to my own way of looking at things.
You're so passionate about making this nation run properly.
Yes. It's very, very essential because resources from the mangrove to the savannah to the desert. Find everything is there. One of the richest nations in the world. But the problem is this leadership. Leadership without direction.
You are a politician.
I don't want to use that word. I don't believe in using that word because the word is corrupted.
So how do you describe yourself?
I want to see myself as maybe political actor. In a way.
Interesting.
Yes.
As a political actor, you see all these problems in the nation and you believe that we have a paucity of quality leadership to drive this nation to the top.
Yes.
Why are you not throwing yourself up?
The point is that I've been playing, little type of politics in terms of helping to do one thing or the other. Throwing myself up, maybe I don't want to be involved in what they call elective politics. I believe in organizational politics to help the political parties to develop from start.
That will not change this nation, will it?
No, some of us will be doing the documenting aspect, writing papers, putting things in order, giving them directions, what to do. Those who have the type of money that they need to deceive people, they will get there. And then if they now follow the ideological pattern of the political party, if it is through the intermediary of a political party, then they will be able to carry out things. And then they will be genuine people who are patriots.
You are courageous.
From
your writings, I observe they are courageous. I am bothered by the fact that you are not joining the fray to really help us to drive this consciousness.
I am joining in terms of using rhetorical devices. Through writing.
Rhetorical devices are not proving effective.
Even if you go to war, you still come back to rhetorical thing. The people will still judge, you still discuss it. So what matters now is that's a moral suasion, using persuasive means to drive at creating some level of consciousness here and there. And then the little thing, the position given to me so far, I have not faltered. All the little things I've done in the political party system that I got involved. I want to see the job given because performance is critical thing. But as toxic leader, performance is zero. You don't see anything. That's why you see incapacitation. And then the level of incapacitation now bring about inability because they won't look at competence. So they will square round hole rather than rounding round hole. So all those things, I wouldn't want to do things like that.
You are bothered, just as I am, that we have bad leadership. Using your expression, toxic leadership.
Yes.
You are also bothered by the fact that we have a docile followership. How much longer are we going to wait for things to change in terms of leadership and followership?
Leadership is a function of group dynamics. The implication of that is that, we are gregarious animals. That is, we live in group. So, you cannot separate leadership from the historical conditions of the followers. It is the historical condition now that we are looking at. The moment the historical condition gets to an intolerable level, then the followers will know what to do. Knowing what to do, two things. Restructure. They will restructure. That is, they want their level to change. So, and two ways of restructuring, peacefully or violently. It's not me. I'm not the one saying that one. That's law of nature. So it will get to that level because in ethics of violence, when decay gets to the level of festering, and then if it's affecting certain things, then you need cultural surgery to get off that type of decay. Otherwise, it becomes gangrenous, spreading fast and destroying things. That's the stage with which Nigeria is now. So you should be very, very careful as leader Do the little you feel you can do at the right time, and then don't pander towards the unethical, that is corrupt practices. But you need idea to drive anti-corruption or anti-graft stance. It's not just occasional behavior that we are seeing now, occasional theatrics.
You have spoken to leaders. Let us speak to followers.
The followers throw up the leader, which means everybody tends to be a potential leader. The basic thing is that the followers should hold their leaders accountable. And if you discover that the person that you are putting forward is the wrong type, thank God for the periodic way of changing leadership in this part of the world, called democracy, which are described as pseudo-democracy. So you discover, okay, people will now say, okay, let us start looking at character, so that good people, those who can do well, we strictly adhere to the laws. The laws are there, but implementation. So the society should not just be watching things going bad, because the bounce back effect will come on them. They call boomerang, and then that one may lead to violent act. So the followers should look into leadership issues from the elementary level. Leadership should be something to be studied, to be looked into, leadership practitioners and researchers. And then people should be doing things the way it should be done. And anytime you are to be co-opted into corrupt practices, you just have to be alone. It's better to be alone rather than to join the so-called fray.
Are you living off your writing?
It is these little things that I'm doing that I'm making money from. Not money in terms of all these their so-called big things, launching and their fake things, bringing people of questionable characters to come and be launching books for them. I don't go for that one. But you doing it little, sell it little, get some little things. It's okay. And then the thing is for the idea to go out after some time. Maybe the thing will be building, and then the consciousness, and then people will want to, like this one now. This one is already getting outside Nigeria. This one has been done in this country for the first time with the cooperation with our partners over there. Some people asked for it in Australia. I have two professors who are friends. Said, you saw it, I'll get it. I pass it on to them. I'm the type of person that any little thing is okay if it is got in the right way, rather than just this plenty. And then people will be suspecting, this world is too sweet in spite of all the problems. So it depends on the way you want to live it. You understand? Create certain things for yourself. Live according to that your principles. Once you are not violating the right of others, anybody can say anything. That's your own.
Mr. Michael, Angel Folorunsho.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Book Splash today. Please join me for another edition of the program same time next week on Splash FM 105.5 Ibadan. Once again, thanks for listening, and thanks to my sound manager, Victor Daudu. In case you have any comments or queries, please send me a message on 0805-699-8676 or email Olatunbosun@splashfm1055.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike Tunbosun. I am Michael Olatunbosun, and I urge you to read the book today.